If you're really trying to be a voice in the conversation, you need to have some authenticity in there.
What happens when an HR leader, content creator, and AI advocate decides he's done playing it safe online? In this episode, recorded live at Transform, I sat down with Trent Cotton to talk about content, tech, and what it really means to have a voice in the age of AI.
I went into this saying I want to help lead conversations because I did have a very different point of view at the time. But the thing that surprised me the most of this journey is how much I've learned from other people.
Whether it's calling out fake AI tools or defending his comment section like it's private property, Trent's here to challenge your content habits and maybe your hiring strategy too.
If I see that you use 2 sentences with a semicolon and you use landscape, demystify, unprecedented, I'm not going to follow your content.
This is an episode for anyone wanting to build thought leadership without losing their voice. Let's get into it.
So I'm so excited that you're here at the pod today and in person here at Transform.
I know. It was so nice meeting you in person in January. And so it's like a treat to see you twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
I know. We've got to get you to move to Atlanta so we can make this more of a regular thing, but I'm a huge fan.
So we're putting this on the internet and I'll share this episode with my husband so that he can see like that.
She needs to come to Atlanta. Great food. I'll help y'all find a place. Don't worry about it. Just pack your bags. Let's go, hubby.
Operation Rona should move to Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay, so you describe yourself as not your normal HR executive. I saw that in your LinkedIn. What makes it different from the rest of the HR executives?
I define HR very differently. All right. I don't even like using the term HR because like resources to me dehumanizes the human part, right? So I prefer human capital, which I know doesn't make it any better. But for me, I define my role as the person that is in charge of the largest asset producing revenue and the largest expense in the organization, which is its people. So every decision I make as an HR executive goes through that line. Yes, is this going to make us more revenue? It will in the short term, but our people are going to be negatively affected by it. So everything that we make in the next 3 months, we're going to lose in the 6 months after. So that's not a good decision. I think that into my mouth, I don't really come across as a great professional HR person. Anyone that's heard me speak, what I think comes out. But whenever I was a line leader, so because I got into HR because I hated working with HR as an executive on the business side. And the thing that I wanted the most was authenticity and not just saying no. And my internal clients or even my clients that I coach and stuff, whenever they come on and they're like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, okay, let's find a way to make this right for everyone involved. Whereas the HR that I had to deal with was, no, you can't do that. Well, what can I do? So I take more of a consultative approach, advocate for the people, but also have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we're proper.
And a lot of people in HR like to separate from the HR isn't only there for the company. And I like that approach. Like you said, it's like, no, I'm there for both people and I'm able to do that because I'm human and I'm able to do more than one thing at the same time. I'm not only there for the company and I'm not only there for the employee, but at the end of the day, everyone who works at a company, you're there for the company too. So I don't know why HR gets the bad rap.
I don't either. And it's kind of funny because my daughter's 21 years old and we're very close and I love that. She calls and tells me stuff that a lot of daughters don't tell their fathers because I created that safe place for her. But there have been times that I have to remind her, I am your father first and your friend second. To me, that's the way that you approach HR and tell the employee, I have to protect you. I am your voice on the executive team, but I also have to have a fiduciary responsibility. And there's a balance that can be achieved. It's not a binary decision. Yes, no, black and white. Right?
Exactly. So your background is HR, it's talent acquisition, analytics, but you're also a content creator, which I love and is really one of the big reasons why I have you on the pod. I invited you to the podcast. How did you start? How did you start integrating AI into your work and what got you hooked on it?
So I have always been a proponent of any technology that makes me look efficient and be lazy. I'm a thinker. I like to take the time to really unpack something and research and do all of that, but there's a trade-off on time. So the way that I started using AI was more for ideation. I like to be able to take things out of what's going on in a current event and apply it to HR because a lot of times, somebody is a career HR, they may not make the connection of Apple being behind in the AI race. Who would have thought Apple being behind? Like, I never would have heard that. And I want to bring that in and say, what does that mean for HR? Do you want to be the Apple or do you want to be the ChatGPT, the Perplexity, all these ones that are trailblazing? I kind of use it for ideation. I use it a lot for research. So I built my own agent that goes out and it looks and it ranks all of the top HR trends, workforce trends, AI's impact on the workforce, and any kind of statistics like BLS statistics, workforce stuff. I'm a data guy. I love data. And what it does is it kind of gives me some suggestions and says, here's some things that you could probably write about, and here's the spin that you can take. I like to maybe use it to help me create an outline, but I like to do the writing. I love it. I love being the voice. I love kind of challenging the status quo, putting a little different spin on it. But then on the back end, I do use Claude and say, hey, read through this. Did I keep the same tone? I have a tendency sometimes to negate myself in the same blog post, So point that out. Be a good proofreader for me. And then on the SEO and stuff, I've got all of my content, and then I say, okay, I want you to put in 4 related backlinks, especially if there is a stat. I want you to go and find the stat and link it, and then put in some other resources so that way, I can continue to engage the readers in content. But I do not let it write. And let me just go ahead and say, if I see that you use 2 sentences with a semicolon, and you use landscape, demystify, and what's another one? There's another unprecedented. Just understand, I'm not going to follow your content because I'll just go and ask AI, what does it say about this? I'm not going to go listen to run it. The reason I follow you is because you have a voice, and I like that voice. I like your perspective. Why would you negate that with AI?
Like you, a lot of the things I've done in my career and in my life, it's me trying to find a shortcut.
Yes.
Or a smart cut.
Yeah, I like that smart cut. Let's go.
Yes. There's a book called Smart Cuts. It's a really good book. I never finished it, but the part that
you took the smart cut out of the smart cut.
I took a smart cut out of the smart cut book, but I love the concept. But yeah, that's always been my thing. It's always like, how can I be lazy and get what I need to be done? Because that's just how I've done things. So a lot of people, I think, are taking the super shortcut and not the smart cut with AI. We can tell. It's like when I speak to you and when I read your content, it sounds like the same person.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many people who you meet face to face and it's like, oh, that's not how you talk online.
You can't put together 2 sentences coherently. How did you write this 5,000 word blog post that has perfect grammar? Come on now.
Or I've seen the opposite, actually. I've seen someone who, when you talk to them, they're so put together. They're like really share a good perspective. And you read their content and it's like so like, exactly. It's like so surface level. AI doesn't go deep. AI is surface level.
No. We were talking earlier about AI, and I think there is a place for it. I use the metaphor of Iron Man a lot. I know you've heard me use it. That's how I look at AI in the business. Whenever I'm looking at the employee life cycle and whenever I'm looking at my life, where's that Jarvis that can take me into that superhero realm, but I'm still driving, I'm still getting the data. I'm still the one that's actually driving the conversation because AI can help you research. But if you say, go and write this, it's going to pull from people like me and you that are actually putting out original content and then them trying to spin it. And I get that flattery is the ultimate, what is it? Imitation, yes, is the ultimate form of flattery. But if you're really trying to be a voice in the conversation, you need to have some authenticity in there.
Right. So let's talk about AI in hiring.
Okay.
It gets a lot of buzz. Everyone's talking about it. We're here at Transform. Every vendor, everyone's talking about AI and how they've integrated it. Some say it's the future. Other people say it's just automation, fancy way of automation that we're going back and talking to. What's the biggest misconception that you see with how we're talking and using AI in hiring?
Okay. So I do not disagree that a lot of automation is being sold as AI right now. So one of the things I'm working with the AI Council, and one of the things that we're trying to figure out is how do we create a baseline of understanding of HR? So what's the different types of data? What's the different types of AI? So that way we can create more educated buyers within the HR space, because if you don't know the questions to ask, you'll buy an automation thinking of it as AI. All right. So I do think there's a lot of misconception out there. And unfortunately, and this is a call to the vendors, be real. Okay. If your AI is just a plug-in with ChatGPT, just say it. So the future that I see is agentic. All right. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, and it's okay. But I think in 2030, TA has already taken just a beat down over the last 18 months. And any of the ones that have been in the market for a while, they're like, I need to go and open up my own agency. I said, that's fantastic. You're buying yourself time. That's all you're doing. What are you doing to level up so that way you become that talent advisor? How are you using AI to go and develop the candidates analyze, you got to do things differently. And I think that if we look into 2030, the foresight that I foresee having is learning and development is also being greatly affected by AI. Think about content. You can go and get AI to help you build the outline. It goes and does the research, puts out. I mean, hell, they even got vendors here that I looked at that will build the course for you. There's a huge deficit of talent that's going to be out there in L&D. Same thing in TA. And I really think that the future is someone who is an advisor of talent, from external, internal, to the hiring manager. Once they come on board, think about recruiting. I used to tell people all the time, whenever you say I do, I'm done. Once you say yes to the offer, I hand you off to rec ops and I'm off to my other little thing. That's no longer going to be acceptable. I'm going to own you from the time that you start until you retire. So your learning and development plan, your coaching, your performance, and all of that. So I do think that some of the recruiters who have maybe been doing this for a while, they're a little bored. I think that there's a place in there that we're going to be able to kind of take that to the next level. So the misconception is HR tech are telling you it's AI and it's really automation. That is true. The other misconception is that you can just hide from AI. Believe it or not, there are people out there like, this is just a fad. Not so much. But just think, 2023, okay? ChatGPT, it took it 90 days to hit 500 million users. It took 7 years for Instagram to hit 1 billion. I think it was like 17 years or something for like LinkedIn. It did it in 90 days. Like, come on, people.
I mean, everyone wants a shortcut, and that's what AI is. I think that I've heard some recruiters say like, oh, it's going away. It's just a fad, because we've heard so many fads. Oh, the chatbots and oh, the this and this. We are an industry with very fad-based industry.
And we're cynical.
Yes. But AI isn't a fad. It's like there's so much money behind it. There's so much benefit behind it that so many other industries are doing. That, like you said, anyone who's hiding from it right now, it's just delaying the inevitable.
It really is. It is. And even if you don't want to do AI because you're like, hey, I'm 4 or 5 years out from retiring, I don't want to learn anything new, totally get it. But you need to have some kind of understanding, not just for the HR tech, not just for job preservation, but also your candidates are using you, So if you really want to be the good recruiter, you're going to have to kind of look through. And I've called candidates on it before. I don't do a lot of recruiting anymore, but every once in a while, for a position, I'll say, I want to be a part of this because it's a very critical role within the organization. And I've asked candidates, like, did AI write this resume for you? Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's just a conversation that I never thought that I would be having in my lifetime.
I just want the robots that clean my house. That's what I keep saying. Yeah. I grew up on the Jetsons. That's really where I want. But we got to AI before. It is beneficial.
Right. So I'm actually doing a talk in Arizona called The 7 Deadly Sins of HR in the Age of AI. And I actually opened with one of my favorite TV shows growing up. You said the Jetsons. Do you remember Knight Rider?
Yes.
Okay. So I start with that clip. And that, I just remembered, I don't know how I saw it. And to me, it was like, that's whenever it clicked. I was like, I have always been interested in this. I just never, like you, I never thought in my lifetime I would have, like right now, 6 agents going and doing all kinds of stuff for me and sending me a recap at the end of the day saying, these are the decisions I made for you. I am here for that.
Yes. Yes. So one of the big fears about AI is that it removes the human element from hiring. How do you think we can use AI to enhance rather than remove the human connection in hiring?
So you and I were talking a little bit earlier about Brad Owens mentioned, and I love this. AI can help you focus on the human. So you need to be asking this process, this step, this candidate journey, employee journey. Is there a way that AI can do this part of it so I can spend more time here, which is the human connection that needs to be had, right? So there's a very fine line because AI is still relatively new. So candidates, you kind of have a 50-50 shot, right? Some of them are okay. I know my husband's been in the market since September. I think he'd love to work with an AI recruiter because at least he could ask, where am I in the process? And it would be honest and quick and answer him. Can't say that now. But I do think that there is a part that if you focus on AI kind of handling some of those mundane tasks that none of us that are love talent and love the recruiting part of HR, they can take care of that so I can actually do the stuff that I do like. Have those conversations. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And actually listen and evaluate, okay, this job is not in line with that. So let's talk about this one over here. I think you might be a good fit. That's the advisor, not check, move on. And I think that's where people think that AI is going to go. And I still think that we need a human in the loop.
Agree. So let's switch gears a little bit. You're not only an HR leader, you're also a speaker, an author, and a content creator. How has like sharing your expertise online helped shape your career?
I think the biggest surprise, so I went into this saying I want to help lead conversations because I did have a very different point of view at the time. And over time, I've kind of found my voice and my brand and everything. But the thing that surprised me the most of this journey is how much I've learned from other people. I'll put something out there and I'm one, I mean, you know me. Someone comments, I mean, don't come for me. Try Jesus, don't try me, because I'm going to come right back at you. But in those conversations, I've actually had sidebars where people said, hey, do you have time? I want to unpack the comment that you said. I need to understand where you're coming from. Or someone has reached out because of the content and said, here's a problem I'm trying to solve. Have you ever done it before? I may want to go, no, but let's solve it together. That's the community aspect that I love so much. It's so bi-directional. And I think that to me, and I'm not saying this just because this is my point of view, I know you're this way. I know several other people that are kind of out there having the conversations that have this approach of going, I'm learning from my audience as much as they're learning from me. There is a subset, let's say, that's out there just speaking and they don't want to help their audience. They just want to be seen. And I hate it for them because they're missing out on the best part, right?
Yeah, they are. And that's also part of touching on what you were saying earlier, why you really have to be authentic and can't be like letting AI be the person who does your content or writes your talks for you or your books for you, because I'm sure that's happening at some point. Because it's really the beauty of it is the connections that you make and the conversation that I've learned so much from people that initially we didn't agree about something online and respectfully disagree, because I'm kind of like you as well. Like my comment section is my comment section and we will...
You're on my property. That's called, you're on my property.
We will moderate accordingly. Yes. So your first comment back is a decision of, am I going to delete and block or am I going to engage in this conversation?
Because sometimes people are pushing you and you need to challenge their paradigm, and then there are other people that just want to comment to see, if they can get a different side of you. And I will say that in my journey, I have shown them and I'm regretful because I looked worse than they did, but I'm like, you're not going to beat me at going in the dirt. I'm going to teach you how it's done. But I do think, though, those conversations and the connection. So one of the things I love about being at Transform, there are so many people that I had connection with that I've never met in real life. And to be able to sit down and have a coffee with them, the two of us sitting around and talking, I didn't realize how much I missed that until I got to this. And same thing at RecFest, having those little sidebar conversations, that's where the connection is.
Yeah.
And content can help you get there.
Yes, for sure. Where do you see AI fitting into content creation for HR leaders?
Definitely on ideation. So I run into this a lot. I'll get like does this happen to you? A fleeting idea. And it's like, I don't focus on it long enough and I'm afraid I'm going to lose it, but I have just that part of it. But I know there's all this over here. I love taking that little fleeting and going, hey, my audience is HR professionals and business leaders. Here's what I'm thinking. I talk to AI like it's a human. It's like, unpack it for me. Where should I go with this? And then it gives me ideas. And I go, okay, cool. What's some data points that support this? What are some data points that negate this? Because to me, I like to be able to present both sides. And I think that part is good because it's just like if you were to come to me and say, I'm thinking about talking about this topic, we would have a conversation. I wouldn't be anywhere as smart as AI, but having that initial ideation, I think is good. Definitely going in and proofing your work. And let's also not forget Claude, GPT, Gemini, all of these, you can train it on your voice. So if you've written, I've written a couple of books, I've got a lot of blog posts out there. It's got my voice in there. And I actually use it because sometimes I can get a little too academia and it will call me out and go, this doesn't sound like your voice.
Oh, wow.
And so I'll go back and I'll rewrite it. So there is a way that you can use it the right way without it being AI producing the end content.
Any tools that you're testing out or like really liking right now?
So for video, I love Opus. And it's funny because I've tried to do it on my own. I know the clips better. Opus, I don't know what their algorithm is, but it is on fire, right? I recently found a script, which I like, because you and I were talking before we went on that you're okay talking just to the camera. I stutter more. Like whenever I'm doing it, I make my husband put his AirPods in so he can't hear me mess up that often. But I like the script because I can just go and delete the text and it fixes the video for me. I like Claude. I like Perplexity for research. And I like Gemini Deep Research. Those are kind of my my little things. Now, I've been playing with N8M, so you can go and actually create your own agents, your own workflows, and it's connected to all these different things. So it's very frustrating because I'm not a developer and I work for a AI software company. And so there's some benefit there because I'll ping someone and go, what am I doing wrong here? You know, and they just look at it and go, ding, 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 and it works. It pisses me off. But hey, everybody has their talent. But that, I think, is probably where I'm going to start going, is saying, okay, let me chart my cycle. Where do I want to put AI in so that way I can really kind of go in and make this more human capitalist, right? So it's going to be fun to watch.
Descript is the funny tool because I used to hate Descript. I used it when it was first out, and I just hated it. I don't know why I hated it, and everyone loved it. And recently, like a couple of months ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give Descript another chance because I saw that they had this feature where they fix the eyes, and there's lots of other tools that fix the eyes, but Descript was the one that was the most, like, made the most sense for my company because we use all these tools, right? Or I love it now. Like, I literally use it every day because, like you said, you can just go in and visually remove the stuff, and all the other tools can do it, but Descript does it best.
It's just easier. I mean, if you're a video editor, clip champ, I think is one, you know, you can use it, you can put some stuff in there. But for those of us that just really want to get the content out and have a couple of, now I don't have the bling that you do. I mean, ma'am, you've got some crazy creative stuff. I'm not at your level, but you know, Descript does kind of help with the stuttering aspect of it. And I don't start and then go back and edit or whatever. I just go, I'm done.
Yeah, so much. So if you were advising a company today on how to modernize their hiring strategy with AI and just with using content, where would you tell them to start?
First, map your employee journey. Whenever I say employee journey, I'm including the candidate, okay? Because they may not be an employee now, but they may be an employee later. And also, they could be a buyer later. So you need to have them in mind. But in my mind, it's the eventual employee all the way through retirement, or they decide to go to something bigger and better. You need to start there. Because a lot of times whenever I sit down with companies, they're like, well, we want to do it here. We want to do it here. I said, but where are the pain points? Because that's what you're trying to solve for. And if you don't have that journey where, you know, you've got, this is a pain point, they're not feeling, you know, Pat Waters talked about it today. This is not the sentiment that I want my employee to have at this point. That's what you tackle first. So start with that. I think the next part of it is there's some education that needs to be in there. So definitely spend some time in HR. It's okay to go to your engineering and say, what is the difference between traditional, normal AI and agentic? Okay. You're talking to someone who I kept hearing agentic, and I asked our CTO, who's like 29, gray guy, and our VP of engineering. I have one-on-ones with them. We just kind of talk about staff and strategy and stuff. I was like, okay, guys, what is agentic AI? I keep hearing it. And they go, it's agents. Son of a bitch. I feel even more stupid. It's in the word, you know, it's actually in the word. Don't be afraid though. Like, you know, they actually went one step further and said, well, let me help you understand the difference. So there's an education, and then it establishes a relationship. I think on the content side, give your employees the mic. No one will tell your brand story better, more authentically, more creatively than your team members. So case in point, we had a very large project internally for a client, and it was 13 different employees from, I want to say, 5 different countries. We have LATAM and the US. To celebrate, like all of them, it was a tough project. And so when they got to the kind of toward the end, they were like, we all want to get together. So they all met in Medellin, Colombia, and like no direction from us. They all met on their own, had a couple of meetings, and they went to Cartagena, and they took a picture that I loved, and we posted it on LinkedIn. The reason I loved it is because it said more about our culture than I could ever say on a video. All of them had little signs that said their name and their country. We had someone from India. We had someone that lived in Germany. Like, it was a beautiful statement. And I think that the more that you can give your employees the opportunity to be able to tell your story, the better the story is going to be.
Yes, for sure. So this has been a great conversation.
I love talking to you. Like, we just need to do this like once a month.
Yeah.
Just chat.
Yeah, we totally do. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn. Of course, I love hanging out on LinkedIn. You can also go to trentcotton.com, and I'm also on YouTube's Human Capitalist, which you're going to be on. We've got to get that booked, where I talk a lot about, AI, the impact on the workforce, where HR is going, and then also to try to bring in some of the recent HR tech, and I ask them the questions that nobody else will. Like, is this really AI?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's a wrap on my conversation with Trent Cotton, recorded live at Transform 2025. If you're not already following him, go do that now. He's one of the most honest and insightful voices out there on the future of HR, TA, and AI. And if you liked this episode, you're definitely going to want to stick around for the next one. Next week, I'm sitting down with Mike Pedito. You might know him from his viral job search videos. We're talking about his leap from full-time TA leader to full-time creator, how he handles hate at scale, and why stirring the pot can actually build trust. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks again for listening to Workfluencer, the podcast for professionals who are changing how we talk about work. Workfluencer is produced by Perceptible Studios. Learn more about how we can help you attract, engage, and retain qualified talent using video at perceptiblestudios.com. If you're enjoying the Workfluencer pod, share it with someone who's changing how we talk about work or should be. And hey, if this episode gave you ideas or inspiration, leave us a 5-star review. Reviews help other listeners find us, and honestly, they make my day. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat with you next week.